Yeah, well, I know we talked so much about the goalies. Um, with that, yeah, we'll go straight into the goalies. Yeah, no,
I was
Joey
gonna say
Daccord,
goalies are like the
Oh
cornerstone of
yeah,
a
I was about to
team.
say let's do a whole goalie episode. Let's just
we
make
we
this the
could
goalie podcast.
Oops,
we
all
could.
goalies.
Mickey Coco, if you want to look at future goalies, had another win in Coachella Valley tonight, so that's fun. Future the goalie position, ideally, but yeah, no, I mean, I'll have to pull one of them up while I throw it over to one of you guys, but it's been nice to get Groovy these games because at morning skate before this Lightning game, typically my tools and like checklist to see who's going to start because everybody really posts the first off the ice, but there have been times where that's not the case, where the first off the ice isn't the starter. Um, it's rare, but you got to look at who works on rink two with Steve Briere,
Hmm.
and who's on the starters net, which is the net if you're sitting in the media side, which is closer to the doors, is the net over by 32. If that happens, they're like foolproof the starter, and Gruby was the guy who did that. And some of the other media folks were like, "Oh, why are you starting Grubauer tonight? Why don't you start Joey tonight and have Gruby go against Ottawa?" And I was like, I don't know. He came off of a good game against Boston. I would rather, I understand going with him after Joey's played so much, you know, like you said, to deal with when Gruby was dealing with that injury. I can understand, because there were times last year, you remember Joey's first full years as NHL starter was last year,
Hmm.
right? And they rode him pretty hard. And understandably so, he was hot, right? But there were times after those long stretches, I think there was like he played 4 games in a row and we talked to him. I don't know if it was, I'm sure it was, but he said he was tired, and
Hmm.
understandably so. It's a heavy workload, that you look at, and I'm not comparing him to any of these guys, although he does have a great goal saved above expected that I'll look at in a minute. But you look at what happens with some of these great goalies around the league, and they get ridden so hard, like a Hellebuck, and coming a playoff time, he's burnt out. He's burnt to hell. I
Hmm.
don't know how much they're going to play Eric Comrie this year, even though I love his TikTok content. But
Same.
you know, I would, in an ideal situation, especially since you've allotted so much money to the crease, I
Hmm.
would like to be more balanced, and having some rhythm would certainly help that. I think if we looked at that Ottawa game, not Ottawa, sorry, San Jose, that really ugly one, it's not excusing it all, but I believe that was his first start in a while. So, well,
That
yeah, his
sounds
first
right to
start.
Yeah.
me.
He
Yeah.
started that game against the Rangers on Sunday the 17th, which was a good game, and then he goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 games without 11 days without starting. That's but I don't know. You get my point. Um, we'll go reverse this time. Jade, what have you seen goaltender wise from this tandem, and just your general thoughts on it? Because yeah, it's obviously since this franchise began, it's been a hot topic.
Yeah. Obviously Joey is has been starting better this year. Sorry, there's gonna be a lot of dog content here also. He's been doing this lately. But anyways, Joey's been obviously the better starter this year. And I'm sure you both, and I'm sure everyone has seen on Twitter the discussion surrounding the goalies. But I think that when Grubauer is given the chance to start, that he's looking pretty good for the most part. He obviously has his games where, he's like you said, not quite tracking the puck as good, or he's not quite like just in general, not quite as on top of it as the fans are expecting, or people watching the game are expecting. But I think that when he's given the chance to start, he does usually look o- okay at a minimum. And especially coming off of that injury at home, in my opinion, he's looked a little bit better since then. Is kind of the
Yeah. I
gist of it.
also
I was gonna say I can go on and on about Joey and how great he's looked all year, and but Grubauer needs a little bit of praise also. So,
I also like talking about, people being confused of why he started against the
yep.
Lightning. you can't build a goalie's confidence if he's only playing the easy games, right?
That's what
So
I said the other day too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
obviously, like there's a reason why Grubauer is being paid his contract is set up the way it is,
Hmm.
right? The Kraken and the front office found something in him that he still has. It's very obvious that he still does. We saw it with the Lightning. It is very hard to play against the like Gensel, Point Kucherovs of the NHL and just like not have or and put that game up if you're bad, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So like if you're just starting him against, San Jose, Ottawa, like Ottawa isn't bad, but they're not the Lightning. Like
Hmm.
his confidence is just going to be, okay, I'm a second tier goalie. Why am I trying anymore?
Yep.
So I think starting him against the Lightning was an awesome decision. Like y'all said, he looked awesome. He like was tracking the puck. There was a moment where he was being faced by like it was like Kucherov, Gensel, and I think Braden Point like shot the puck, fully just like grabbed it out of midair. It was awesome, and I think like that's a big thing with Grubauer and like any goalie, right? You got to
Hmm.
treat your goalies delicately. Um, like you have to give him the space to grow. I can't imagine that he's feeling very good when he is kind of our second tier goalie right now. Like they have to give him the space to grow, especially now that we're seeing a Kraken team that will offer that goal support where they weren't the first like 8 games that he lost.
Yeah.
So now that he has that, like he's looking stronger, he's looking a lot more confident. And if he and Joey can get back to like balancing those games, neither of them are taking the load like the
Getting
way
burnt
that they
out.
have. Yeah, that they can't get burnt out. I think we can definitely like climb up that wild card spot a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, I look here at, their stats since the month began. They're both over a 900 save percentage. Um, you know, Obviously it's tough to just like you said with the goal support as well. I mean, it's even the Tampa Bay game, like for so long that was a 2-1 game. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, I was fully anticipating to end something like that, or maybe like 3-1, give Tampa Bay an empty net goal or something like that. It's just I have a hard time blaming a goaltender when you score one goal.
Yep.
Like,
That's how
you
I felt the
know,
entire game because I was sitting there, we got on the board first and then
mhm.
Tampa scored and then Tampa scored again. And then I was like, okay, not feeling really good. And then there was a couple, I don't know, there was a couple shots that I was like, that's a little bit sloppy, but all right. If it makes it in, cool, that's a good goal. But
Sure.
it was the whole game felt a little bit that specific game felt kind of sloppy and um honestly the only way that I can describe the third period was that the team was asleep and Grubauer did his best to
Yes.
Yeah,
defend a sleeping team. Like yeah, it was a game. It was a game.
it's just, you know, that even that shut the Florida game. I mean, there's a segment of the fan base that obviously feels like Joey is the child that can do no wrong, you
Hmm.
know. So like that 2-1 shootout loss, they're like, oh well, Florida's a good team, and it's like anything outside, of blame. But if you put Grubauer in that situation, I'm sure it's, oh well, if he would have saved a few more shots, you know. Yeah, no, I do like the mention of the increased goal support, because it's funny just again looking at this segment since December began. You've got 4 goals, 5 goals, 2 goals, 7 goals, 1 goal, 5 goal. Like the offense is showing up at a more consistent rate. Again, I like that Sylvia mentioned the inconsistencies, because this is a 500 team, a statistical at 500 team
Yep.
that has been, their only consistency is inconsistent. And
Yes.
I hate it so much, because you can kick the do I want to swear on this one? No, we'll see if I do. I said it the last two
On.
Mariners ones we've recorded. I'll say I'm not gonna do it, and then I drop an F word at the end of the show. Um, you can drop 8 goals on Montreal. You can score 5 against, Boston. You score 7 against the Rangers. You score 4 against Carolina, but then, you'll play San Jose and, 2 goals. That's all I can do. I don't
Oops,
I don't know
sorry.
how to
Yeah.
score more. I'm
Yep.
just a little baby. Like, no, yeah, to go with the goalies thing and wrap up there, like I think it's the consensus here that if you can have a true tandem, which you are paying them like no one else has this money dedicated to the crease,
Hmm.
unless you've got a star goalie, a Hellebuck, a Ottinger, how Swayman is paid now,
I was
right?
gonna say it kind of reminds me of the Swaymark tandem last year, the way that the way that the Kraken are paying Decord and Grubauer, and it's just not quite showing up that way, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, no. So, you know, and Sylvia even mentioned, I like mentioning the contract because a lot of people are still butthurt about that, and we're in year f 4. Yeah, 4. Sorry, like the franchise has only been around for 4 years. We were in 4 of 6 of it. Like, we just have to get past that point. Like, if you
Hmm.
keep bringing it up, like that's great, but it's a moot point at this juncture. He was coming off of a Vesna finalist season. Like, I'm fine with that. We do get glimpses of that. I saw it in that shutout. They got shut out at home, 2-0. Like, I can only
Hmm.
do so much, when he plays really well in that Rangers game, and that was before the Rangers kind of imploded in the Jacob Trouba and all this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He looked pretty good in that Boston game. Yeah, there were a lot of bad saves. Your defense, again, I loved the way they clogged the ice. 2 of the last 3 games, obviously not so much last game, maybe the first 2 periods of that last game. Um, but you can't just put a post out there and call it good. He
Hmm.
played well in the Boston game as well. So, I've liked what I've seen from that. And like you've both talked about, getting that confidence and if you're able to be more balanced, I'm really happy with that because we'll play 4 games. You'll go on the little break here at the end of December, and then January is not going to be easy. You've got Vancouver. 2 days later, you've got Edmonton, and then 2 days later, you've got the Devils. I mean, that's not an easy stretch.
Yeah.
Just looking at those rosters, this yeah, having a legitimate tandem and playing them that way instead of the Dave Hackstall, I'm gonna play you until you explode on the ice
Yep.
Mhm.
is how I would like to see things play out more. And I you know it's his first year. I know Sylvia's written about, and you talked about the new leadership and sometimes I have to remind myself, oh yeah, it's his first year as the head coach of this franchise.
Hmm.
So obviously he's done it at the NHL level before, but you know, new team, new adventure, all that sort of thing. So,
Hey, Charles.
hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Cracking away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.
Hello there, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports. I'm joined by Jen Barnes of Rough and Tumble that we happen to be at right now.
Yeah.
Jen, why don't you talk to me a little bit about what we're announcing today, which is our partnership.
I'm so excited about this. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I think all of us here at Rough and Tumble are big fans of what you and your team at Circling Seattle Sports does. And so, I know you know this, but when you came to me with this idea, it just seemed pretty natural. And it's not just me. I think a lot of people in the sports community in Seattle also really respect you and your team. So it's exciting to kind of see these two things melding together, and we're really excited to start implementing some of the things and then hopefully seeing you guys a little bit more often.
Yeah, and so with what Jen says about seeing us more often, we've got a few things in the works, but you'll see watch parties here. We'd like to do a few different of our community drives, which you'll hear about here in a little bit. from now. You know, we've got to make our announcements one at a time. I can't drop everything.
Not everything all
Right.
at once.
But this has been a home for a lot of our team, whether it's myself, our friend, our photographer Liz is behind the camera. Liz is here often, so our team has kind of adopted this place kind of like our own since I saw you at our soft launch. So, you know, it's been great to have that support. And you know, in a lot of ways, and part of the reason I wanted to do this was the Rough and Tumble embodies a lot of what Circling Seattle Sports wants to do. Obviously with women's sports, with the storm and the rain, but just being, you know, having the game on, every game on.
Yep.
You know, how much of that, you know, did you see a line kind of even before this idea was mentioned when I first met you?
I think it's always felt like that. I mean, you and your team were here on opening night, and you just feel like you're part of the space, so it felt like really natural. And the fact that you actually cover all of the sports really makes your group stand out. So you are always covering all the rain games, all the storm games. You'd have women's softball, you'd have women's basketball, you'd have women's hockey. We love it. So all of those things, and obviously passionate M's fans, passionate Hawks fans, and passionate Kraken and Sounders fans. So really, from our perspective, those two things meshed really well.
So, I mean, you heard it from Jen herself, but this will be our home for all of these events, whether it's you can't make it to these games at home, we're always going to direct you to Rough and Tumble, and obviously the games on the road as well. All these, I mean, we're talking about the rain, they've got their schedule out finally, but this will be our home for that.
Great.
The storm games on the road, this is our home.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
I love it.
And when I mentioned it to Jen, when I first had this idea come up, I had this idea come up wearing a pink wig.
Yes, you did.
Ahead of Megan Rapinoe's final regular season home game for the Reign this past year.
Yeah.
I told her it's because I wanted this to feel genuine.
Yep.
I wanted a connection to feel genuine, and it does.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, and I'm so excited to finally announce this partnership.
I can't wait.